Oh, we did that at the same time. Twins! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Betwixt the Books Discuss Spoilers. I'm going to hold on a second because my stream is about to start and I want to mute it so that I don't have to listen to us talk double. And hopefully my internet is able to handle this. Also, why is chat disabled for this live stream? That's not true. Goodness gracious, YouTube.
As you can see, this is a new feature that we are trying to get off the ground, and ergo, as a new feature, there are the requisite technical difficulties we must get through.
Oh my god.
But the reason we go through all this pain is that hopefully there is someone out there who wants to talk with us, because though Michaela and I love talking about books with each other, we also want to talk with you. And while we like doing our videos that we tape, especially because we get to edit out the dumb bits, it doesn't really make much of a discussion. So if you are here and you want to talk to us, with us, use the hashtag for this video, hashtag BTB spoilers. We both are have that stream on our phones, and we will totally say hello to you and talk about, if you have something to say about what we're talking about. So that's a thing.
All right. I might have fixed the fact that there's no live chat, maybe? Loading. 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 It says it's loading. I'm going to assume that it's working. And if not, oh well, tweet at us.
Yeah, tweet at us. It's better that way.
It says chat is disabled. I don't know why. I clicked the button that said enable live chat, but no, whatever. All right, then I can close this and not have my computer doing multiple things and hope that the internet stays good for this stream. Yay. Okay. Tonight we wanted to discuss spoilers as a topic in booktube, in blogging, in just talking about books in general. So if you have any questions that you think that we would be good for us to discuss about spoilers, please tweet at us with hashtag BTB spoilers. Otherwise, we have a handful that we're going to be talking about tonight on our own. Cool.
And as promised, I am going to reveal something about my particular reading habits that I've told almost 0 people, and now I'm going to tell the internet. So, big steps.
0 to 60.
0 to 60.
Yeah. All right. The first topic is, what would you consider a spoiler? So, the names of characters? No, probably not. Whether or not somebody dies? Yeah, that's probably a spoiler.
I think it's really funny because sometimes it seems like people confuse spoilers with what's already on book, the book jacket or the back cover.
Right.
Because I was showing my parents your review of Night Film, and my mom was like, "Oh my god, isn't this kind of spoilery?" And I was like, well, no, this is the basic plot of the book that you would find on the inside flap. And granted, some inside flaps, like movie trailers, are sometimes here is the entire plot.
Here is everything you need to know.
Yeah, I mean,
basically read the book now.
Yeah, so that I think is the spoiler. If you get something and there's no more, there's no reason now to read the book. Finding out who done it or something like that.
The mystery book just says on the back, P.S. it was the butler.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to do something meta, like John dies at the end, because in our 30 seconds to disagree about John dies at the end, my point was, why would I read a book if I know John dies at the end? And then the title was misleading, and so that's okay.
Yeah.
But
John dies just about everywhere but the end.
Yep. Yep. Figure that one out for yourself and then read the book.
Yeah. I know that some people say if it happens within the first chapter of the book, it's also not a spoiler because it's like the beginning. So like sometimes when people are talking about a book, they'll say all of these characters die, but it happens in the first chapter of the book. So that's like the premise. Like I'm not telling you. So some people would say like if it's in the first chapter, it's fine to talk about. Or if it's just about like the setup of what the book is doing, it's fine. But if you get into details about specific scenes or specific events or anything that people would care about in a plot, so like major plot points that have to do with beloved characters or something, that's off limits, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it's that kind of thing where you expect, like the blurb, you expect the premise to be over by a certain point. So, and I think like we've done a couple of books for book club where we're like, it's halfway through the book and we're still reading things that we know happened because they're on like the front cover.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, why? Like,
it keeps going.
Why?
No. Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, maybe that's the publisher's fault for like putting that on the back, like too far into the book on the back, or maybe it's the fault of the writer for having too much exposition and not enough everything else.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
literally
book
anything
blurbers
else.
are generally really good at their job because that's like their job is to flip through a book and be like, bam, okay, I can write this now. And so if they felt like in order to still explain the premise, they had to use that much of the book, writer friend, you need to even out your Freitag's pyramid.
Okay. The next question is the loaded one. Do you purposely spoil yourself on stuff, and when and why?
Okay, so here's where I talk about a thing that I rarely ever tell people about my reading habits, because the few people that I have told slip out. And this is because I have really high anxiety. Like, it's really bad. And so this usually doesn't affect me unless I'm really, really into the series. And generally, I'm pretty convinced that a particular character or something might happen and someone's going to die that I really love. But if I am reading a book and I think that that's going to happen, this usually happens in, follow-up books or, books that, like, usually end of series. I will get through like a quarter of the book maybe, and then I will have to read the last page before I go any further, because otherwise I panic, and I literally can't. I stop reading. I start skimming in order to find this information that this character or this thing that I think is going to happen is or isn't going to happen. And whether or not it happens doesn't really affect me. And I'm like, but I know. And then I can go back and actually enjoy the book. Whereas otherwise, I panic. So I have a really bad habit of reading last pages of books before I actually get there in my reading. Because otherwise, I can't handle it. But this is also a different thing, because if I do that randomly with TV shows, I lose interest in the TV show entirely and won't keep watching the TV show. Yeah. But if I do it with books, I'm like, okay, I'm okay now. Now I can read. Yeah.
Unlike Gretchen, I don't spoil myself with books very often. Like, not like flipping ahead in the book. I feel like I did that more when I was little. Like, I remember being little and flipping to the back of the book and reading like the last chapter and then flipping back and reading more. Or like if you watched our Nostalgia Junkie series, you would know that when I was little, I skipped all of Bobby's parts and just read Mark and Courtney's parts, which means that I was obviously getting spoiled for some of the events in the Bobby parts because they discuss it. But I didn't care as much about the Bobby parts, so I wanted to know what was happening with Mark and Courtney right away. I didn't want to have to wait through who knows how many chapters of Bobby complaining about clowns. you know, things like that. Which, if you haven't watched that series, go watch that series. It's great. Also, read Pendragon.
Both is good.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't spoil myself for books very often anymore. The way that I would spoil myself, and I guess this kind of goes into one of the questions I have later, is that I will watch somebody's review of a book that I haven't read yet where they spoil stuff because they want to go more in depth in their review and talk about specific elements. And while I know there are a lot of people who vehemently stay away from videos like that because they don't want to get spoiled for the plot, but oftentimes listening to somebody talk about like the writing or this particular scene and how it affects the book as a whole actually makes me more interested in a book than just hearing about the plot on its own. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that leads into the last question I have on this list, but it is, are there benefits to spoiler-full reviews? So, like,
I mean, I was just thinking, because it's fresh in my mind, of our Magician's King book club. And so if you've never seen one of our Bibliomancy for Beginners episodes, those are usually about hour-long book club discussions with me, Michaela, and usually our friend Taylor, if not a couple of other people. And so we just did the Magician King.
Oh no. I don't know if my internet died or Gretchen's internet died. How can I know? Gretchen, come back to me. Don't be gone. Gretchen. 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 You left me. Why? Oh no, Gretchen's gone. Oh my goodness. Technical difficulties. Goodness gracious. All right, well, I guess I will talk about what I think are the benefits to spoiler-full reviews, and that is that you can get much more in depth about the book. So you can talk about how particular elements of the book really helped the book to do what it was trying to achieve, to say interesting things about a particular genre. Gretchen? Are you back? You're muted. Your mic's muted.
We're good.
Okay.
In case you haven't noticed, we're having a drastic winter storm here, and my internet is like,
oh no.
Anyways, what did I miss?
I was just saying how the thing that I like about spoiler-full reviews is basically getting to hear how particular elements of the book improve the book or ruin it, I guess. Very rarely does it ruin it, but like you were saying in our Magician King video, we discussed what we thought was going to happen and then what didn't end up happening, and something else happened that we that ruined the plot of this particular character. And
quite frankly, I wish I knew had happened, because I mean, I was able to, I mean, I think you finished it first.
Yes.
And so you were able to warn Taylor and I, but if I had been you and just reading up to that, especially since it happened so late in the book, talk about literally coming out of nowhere.
Yep.
But like, I think that, I mean, if we'd known that was there, that might have severely affected our desire to do the book at all.
Yep.
And I mean, I think I'm so glad that we did it, and I'm glad that we discussed it, because I think it was a really good discussion. But I mean, that's, in a way, that's almost like a trigger warning.
Yes.
As well. So, like, that too. I don't know if trigger warnings would count necessarily as spoilers sometimes, but they just feel necessary for.
Yes, because that was a very explicit scene that for some people I could see being incredibly triggering. And I don't think that, even though that happens right at the end of the book, like knowing that that is going to be a thing doesn't detract from the fact that all of this other stuff happens. It's literally just a way for somebody to say, maybe don't read this chapter because it will be bad for your mental health.
Yeah. So I think that like trigger warnings, because I mean, because if even though it does happen at the end of the book, if you were to say, you know, there is a graphic rape, like it's a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler, because I feel like, you know, we could say that, but you don't know to who it happens. You don't know, like, in what context. And granted, it's really, that book uses it. Yeah. But anyways,
go watch that discussion.
But I haven't spoilered. Yeah, go watch that and watch us be angry over there. But like, by us saying that, you aren't spoiled by a plot thing necessarily. Just I know I wish that, like, we had all known that before we all went into it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. My next question is sort of similar to this. Would you read a book after seeing the movie or the TV show, I guess, that it's based on?
I have a really, like, I prefer to read the book before I see the movie, but if I do so happen to go see the movie before I read the book, if I have any interest in it at all, my general snobby opinion is that the book is always going to be better.
Yep.
So unless it's like the original Lord of the Rings movies, which I tried to read those books, said LOL no, but I love the movies.
Yeah.
And then, like, Game of Thrones was better than the books up until they started, you know, putting in rapes that weren't in the books. And then I was like, nope, we're done now. But yeah, no, I'm snobby. I tend to generally assume the book is better. So
yeah. I definitely try and follow that rule as well, to read the book before I go see a movie, but sometimes I'll go to a movie not realizing that it's based on a book and then be interested in it and want to read the book because, again, yes, the book is usually better. So I'm trying to think. Recently I read Wild by Cheryl Strayed, and I did a review of that for my blog, so if you want to hear what I thought of that, and it was a book and movie review. I read the book after having seen the film last year, 2 years ago, whenever it came out, with Kim, and I didn't know that it was based off of her memoir when I went to the movie, and at the end it said it's based on the book by Cheryl Strayed, and I went and got the book and read it, and I, in a lot of ways, was actually really surprised how similar they were, because I feel like it's hard to make a movie out of a memoir. Like, it makes sense with fiction because there's a plot, so to speak, but a memoir's plot is not the same, I guess. It's more about the journey as opposed to the actual events.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
But it is, though. I don't know. In any case,
You've actually done a bunch of book and movie reviews recently. By a bunch, I mean, like, you did The Martian, and then you did Brooklyn as well.
Yes, because
I'm not sure if that's been posted yet, but
it will be on Friday, I believe. My Brooklyn.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert for what's coming up on Michaela's blog.
Spoiler alert, more book and movie reviews. And that's because I often, like, I like watching movies, and I like reading the books before I see the movie. So I read The Martian in the spring of last year, and I finally got to see the movie at the end of last year, and then I wrote a review of both of them, discussing them both. And I feel like it's a really interesting way to discuss mediums and the value that certain mediums have over others and bring them together. It's always fun to discuss, and I often say in my reviews whether I think it's fine to just watch the movie and not read the book. Obviously, reading the book is great, but, like, is this a good adaptation? Do you want to just watch the film instead of having to read a 300-page book if you're not much of a reader and get the same experience? That's helpful too. So yes, I do that. I watch lots of movies. Oh, one of the topics that I have is there a statute of limitation on spoilers? So, like, I know I've seen a lot of people in regards to Game of Thrones being like, Gretchen, are you still there? Yes, okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
You've been quiet, and I was like, oh god, did she leave again?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, is there a statute of limitations because people have had, I think, spoiled the Red Wedding for other people, and they're like, well, the book's been out for like this many years. You should know that this happened already because the book's been out.
I mean, I think the thing with Game of Thrones is that so many people expect, like, why would you expect that people had read those books? Like, it's one thing to say, hey, you know, because just some people just don't read.
Yes.
Like, straight up. That's something that I could not imagine, but that's not something like my little brother. He just doesn't enjoy reading. It's not a thing that, like, he wants to spend his time doing, so he doesn't. And that's, you know, that's a life choice. So I think, like, the thing with Game of Thrones and people expecting people to know that is silly. Yeah. Because if you're watching a TV show, you're watching the TV show as it comes out and not necessarily.
Yeah.
So that, but I mean, I think it's the thing with, we finally went to go see Star Wars, like last week. And it's been out for a while now, but my brother was still trying to like keep his ears in the sand like a freaking ostrich. And even walking into the movie theater, he was just like, because he was worried about people who like had been going back to see it second and third times being there and discussing it. And that was something that he was like, you know, just because I haven't seen it yet, guys. Like, I know people are already on their third viewing, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Because like that was a really big deal.
So I guess I would say that the rule is if you shouldn't assume that people have read or seen the thing, even if it's been out for a while, because everybody has different circumstances, even after years. So like people, I feel like there's a certain amount of stuff that is in the public knowledge that you can talk about, like people talking about how the Luke, I am your father part of the old Star Wars, like that's a spoiler for Star Wars, but at the same time it's like ingrained in our cultural knowledge. If something isn't like that, you shouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah. And in that respect too, it's bad to assume that we all have the same cultural knowledge. Because, like, if you grew up in a household that was very against Star Wars, and, I mean, you might not know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, really random things. That's probably a really bad example because, like, I Am Your Father shows up in so many different iterations. But, like, what is common public knowledge to you isn't always common public knowledge to someone else. So, like, I don't know. Maybe you didn't have to read Romeo and Juliet in high school, and maybe you don't know what happens at the end. I have talked to people who didn't know how Romeo and Juliet ended. And I was like, there's been like 50 film adaptations and it's, you know, God in heaven, how? But it happened.
That's been out for centuries, guys. Centuries.
How do you not know? And like when I first watched the Titanic, I didn't know how the Titanic ended. And I watched that when I was like 13. Just because I didn't go to school and I didn't have friends. I just didn't know how the movie ended, and it ended and I'm sobbing and I was like, what? This is how Titanic, like the movie, I know the ship sank, but like what happens between Rose and Jack, and I was like, what? No.
Oh goodness.
I didn't know.
Oh, okay. So if somebody else spoils you, like say I just watched a TV show you haven't seen and I'm talking about it and I accidentally say something that would be a spoiler, would that prevent you from wanting to watch it or wanting to read a book if we were talking about the book and I was like excitedly talking at you? Because I know I do that a lot accidentally, where I accidentally spoil someone just because I'm talking about it, and I'm like, and then this happened, and ugh!
I think it would really depend on my personal interest level in it. You know, because like
Okay.
if you were talking about a book, however excited, and I'm sitting here going, I would never pick that up anyways. If you spoiled it, like it doesn't matter whether or not you would spoil me. I'm still not gonna pick it up. And if I was really interested in it, and even if you spoiled me, I would probably still read it. Especially if it was part of a series. I think the only way I'd get really angry at you if it was like the series I just started and there was 6 parts and I was really, really into it, and all of a sudden you like spoil what happens at the end. And I was like, I would still read it. I would just not speak to you for a little while.
Oh no, how dare you. I know that I accidentally spoiled Taylor for Danganronpa because I spoiled myself by reading the transcripts of the books as that anime was coming out, or of the games rather, transcripts of the games translated. I read that, so I knew the big shocking twist at the end, and I was talking and I accidentally spoiled it for him even though he was still watching the show, and I felt so bad because he didn't know what the thing at the end was, and I was just excited, and it was the worst. I feel bad when I spoil someone for something they enjoy.
Like the big finale, if the big finale is spoiled, and it is supposed to be a shocking twist.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, if we were going along and we were like, yeah, and then in the end they get together, I would be like, I probably guessed that from a million miles away, first off, but also like, yeah, whatever. But if you were like, oh my god, and then you find out all along that it wasn't the butler, but the butler was a Martian in disguise, I'd just be like, what?
How dare you?
Why would you tell me that?
I did it sidewise though, so like I wouldn't straight up say to you, by the way, at the end, blah 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 blah, because that's like just a dick move. Like, why would you say that to somebody? Spoilers for anybody who wants to watch Danganronpa. I'm gonna put my hand up. Gretchen, do you mind if I spoil this for you?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about, so go for it.
So I'm gonna put my hand down when I'm done talking about spoilers. So if you want to mute this until I put my hand down, that's wise. Spoilers for Danganronpa. It's a murder mystery, sort of, where there's a person who's sort of making all of these kids fight each other and kill each other. And you find out basically at the end that one of the characters that you thought had died didn't die and is actually the person running the whole thing. And I had read the transcripts for the second game where I was talking about how much I really loved the way the second game was constructed, and all of these characters who were part of the, basically like the regime that created the despair that was causing all of these kids to fight, had been brainwiped and were trying to be rehabilitated, and instead like a Junko virus got into the thing and they were killing each other again like the first one. But you didn't know that they were part of the despair project until the very end, and then basically you find out that they were so obsessed with the character who was running it originally that they had like literally taken parts of her dead body and put it into themselves, so like grafted her dead hand to their body or her eye, and it was like this really savage twist. And I was talking about that because I had just read it and was excited, and I said Junko, and Taylor goes, but Junko died, and I went, oh fuck, because he hadn't watched the last episode, so he didn't know that she was the one running the whole thing. And I felt so bad because I was talking about something else. It wasn't like tied into that, and the second season may or may not be made into an anime. I don't know. It might just be a game, and he's not going to play the game. It's in Japanese. I don't know if they will translate it, and it's for PlayStation Portable or PlayStation Vita, so we're really not going to play it. So I was talking about it, and that's how I did it accidentally. Okay, no more Danganronpa spoilers. All done.
I mean that, and I mean, but you can like kind of cover that too. You can just be like, if you haven't said it multiple times, like, oh, I said the wrong thing.
Whoops.
Like awkward.
Japanese names.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
anyone
didn't
who
have
purposely
time.
spoils is a dick. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
My brother, when Star Wars came out, was showing me this article about some guy who spoiled Star Wars, and then he was like beat up by a Wookiee and Boba Fett, and I was like, yeah, yep, that's what happens when you spoil Star Wars in the theater.
That's what you get. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about since we're coming up at the half-hour mark?
Nope. I think we covered a bunch of ground.
Okay, in which case, I think we are all set for this episode, and we will do another one of these on a different topic at some point in the future. I'm not sure how often they will happen. Whenever we have a topic and can talk about it, we'll do it, and hopefully as time goes on, we'll have you guys participate. I realize this was pretty much the first one, so it makes sense that not that many people or anybody wanted to come and join us, but in the future, hopefully you guys will be able to join in as well and talk with us. Check out stuff on our blogs.
And if you watch the video, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.